Today, it's Edwin's Monday evening property rant. Hello again, it's Martin Hill from Digital Finance Analytics, one of this post covering finance and property news. Monday evening again, Edwin's back. Hello, Edwin. Fun times ahead, huh?
Well, it's a wrecking ball part two, Martin. And I think the redhead's going to crash the property market. That's still my prediction in 2028. I'm absolutely convinced of it. And you're going to show some of the slides that we'll be talking about, no doubt. I mean, they've raised close to $4.2 million in 5 days from just the everyday Joes, I guess. And it's really sending alarm bells. So the big question is going to be, apart from the fact that the Age puts Hanson overtakes Albanese and as preferred MP, and Coalition crashes to record lows. So I really think we're in 2 years' time. We could square off the Labor against One Nation. But my question to you, Martin, is the One Nation change? The orange wave, is it really what the Aussies really want? Do they really understand what it means for the property market? And will it be sustainable?
Well, it's an interesting question. I mean, it's interesting. Albo didn't believe that they'd raised the first million, and now they got 4 million, right, and counting. And all of the polls suggest that this is very much a vote against the existing parties, a plague on both your houses, because a lot of people feel that really the political system over the last 15 to 20 years has not worked for them. So they're looking for an alternative. And One Nation is standing out as that potential alternative. So it's almost not a question of what are their policies, what do they stand for? They are not the incumbents. So there's a few interesting thoughts. The first is, of course, are they going to have to start behaving more like a potential incumbent? In other words, having to disclose more about their policies. And if they do that, will that scrutiny then raise question marks for people? The second is this a peak of a mountain? It's 2 years to go before the next election. Will it fade away again, or will it continue to gain more momentum? I have to say that I think the major parties at the moment are just digging graves for themselves from some of the things that they're doing. And the third is there is a Trump-esque element to this. If you think about what Trump did and how he got back in, particularly the second time around, it was getting ordinary people to say, yeah, we hate the establishment, you're not the establishment, so we'll vote for you. There's a lot of that about this. But as you say, one of their policies that we do know about is their dialing back migration potentially, and that could be quite an interesting element when it comes to the property market. But of course, the property market at the moment is looking, a bit wobbly anyway. So will it make a difference? Interesting question.
Yeah, well, this is you talk about the Trump anomaly, right? But let's not forget that in America, he became, or is the leader of the Republicans, basically, right? He's out there as El Supremo, and One Nation is a third party, albeit it's you could say there's the Uni Party, and you could say there's only two choices: the Uni Party and One Nation. You could say that, but there's that element. Look, I am. At first, when we first started talking about the rise of the redhead, or Pauline Hanson, and the One Nation, and what it could mean, what it could truly mean for our economy. I know what people are wanting. I know what people are wanting to dial back immigration. I know what in essence, that's what it comes down to dial back immigration. I mean, there are other sub issues, such as government spending in terms of growing the public workforce, and turn that into a super machine that's just absolutely absorbing like a massive vacuum cleaner our taxes, and all these other agendas. The 2030, the 2050, the WEF, the UN, and every other acronym that just sucks up our taxes and our money, and it doesn't go to the people. Now, not to also mention locally the NDIS debacle among many. There's also the shit that's going on in Victoria, and other state-driven projects that are just sucking up money left, right, and centre like there's no tomorrow, because of how much we become unionised. So I get all that. I understand all that. But when we start really looking at the core, the focal point, the bullseye, which is immigration intake and what they want to do, like a Trumpian type of scenario, we just deport. I mean, that's going to be that is, to me, is really going to be the epicenter of the crash. Forget about your 18-year land cycles and 24-year land cycles and 50-year land cycles and the GFCs and this and that and the budget and this and that. What we're going through at the moment, I believe, is really just a lot of confusion. And I'm still holding to our first episode on this series that we've been talking about over the last 4 weeks, and that is that I believe that the Labor government are going to walk a lot of it back. I wouldn't be surprised if they walk back 90% of what they said with regards to the budget. It's going to be oopsie. It's going to be one of those things. Oopsie, we made a boo-boo, and we're just walking it back, because can they really afford to be in such negative numbers and to have this uprisal? But it is 2 years, so we've got 3 outcomes. One is, over the 2 years, One Nation really drills down and heads down, tail up, and really get cracking on their policy, and to articulate it in a way that it's not going to scare the bejeebies out of people, right? And take the helm. Or as I said, option two is Pauline doesn't even get to 2028, God forbid, and I'm not wishing that upon her at all. I'm just stating the facts because of the animosity that's out there and what people are going to look, all the craziness that's out there in the world. That's reality. And number three, there's an implosion or there's some sort of kerfuffle within the One Nation Party. And I mean, we've seen it implode a couple of times before over the last 25, 30 years or so, and that hasn't been pretty. But I'm sort of gravitating towards option one and two. But if that is the case, and with or without Pauline at the helm, and One Nation takes control, whether it be as a coalition with the Liberals, whatever it may be, but we take some form of control and we dial back immigration the way that we are currently, people are expecting for immigration to dial back, we're going to be in a lot of shit because we cannot afford a 10% drop in prices. That's just the bottom line, man. I know the way you see it, but to have from what we're experiencing now, as I said, there's a lot of kerfuffle and a lot of fanfare and a lot of noise, and a lot of it is noise. We'll look at the numbers in reality later on in the show. But if we were truly, I mean, what are your thoughts, Marty? If we were truly dialed back 10% on property prices across the board, I mean, we're in trouble. We are in serious trouble because a lot of businesses have been built on the equity, or have been built subsidized on the equity of the property arena as well, and that's a lot of the SMEs. So we'll be in a lot of trouble. Not to mention the other side of the cornerstones that we have in terms of our economy, and that being the export. You may want to call it export in inverted commas, and that is export of education. So if we dial back those two areas, we're in a lot of mess. So then we go back to my 4 questions to you, Martin, and that is post One Nation taking the helm, right? Then we got to address the point. Then who builds? Who continues to build? Who will be around to build? Who funds the building when the economy is going backwards and prices are going backwards? And and basically, what is the alternative to a 10% drop in prices?
Great questions, and let me just sidle into